Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Amy Belcastro, and I'm going to be working with you in this course as well as other courses in our program. I also coordinate our Masters of Science in Education program as a whole, and I'm an advisor in a number of our concentrations, specifically those dealing with adult learners. I am excited about this class because it is a class that really looks at the unique complexities of institutions of higher education. So we'll explore different types of institutions of higher ed, and issues of governance, organization, the teaching and learning, student life, faculty, finances, public policy, and really even the cost or return on investment of higher education. Is it worth it? And looking specifically, and this is where I'm going to ask all of you really to lean in on, because even though higher education is very slow to change, we're in an interesting time where there's a lot of change happening in higher ed. So we're going to look at the innovations in higher ed today and their effects specifically on student success through that social justice and equity lens. The textbook for this class is, American higher ed, which is where we'll be focusing on higher education in the United States, issues and institutions, core concepts in higher ed. We'll also be using a lot of other resources such as professional organization websites, academic journals, and research that I will be providing for you each week, and you will be researching and bringing into the course as well. We come from a wide range, even though everyone in this course is focusing on leadership in higher education. We have people who are working in private, public, community college. We have folks that are on the academic, student affairs side. So, institutional research. We'll get into all of that. What I'm going to ask of you is to lean into what lens you're most interested in, what you're curious about, because it is 7 weeks and this is a large survey class really in what is higher education. I'm going to ask you to really think through the critical questions and big ideas each week through that lens. You'll be bringing in your own experience, your own curiosity and passions, and your own research. The textbook, as well as the other resources, are going to really provide some common language and ground to work with. You'll notice that each section each chapter starts with a section called Setting an Overview. And that really introduces the topic for that chapter, issues. Then there's the second, characters, and that look at some of the key issues and tensions within those topics. We also will then talk about the complexities and conflicts. You'll see a section on that in each chapter, and looking at what implications that has in terms of our decision making. In turn, these sections will that we call the connections and questions are followed by sections really looking at issues of equity, diversity, and social justice. Then we will be taking the conclusion at each chapter, you'll see, and that really kind of helps summarize and looks at the different perspectives and viewpoints in the chapter. As again, I mentioned, there's going to be a number of other resources we'll be using. So that's pretty much the reading. In terms of weeks, we'll be starting with big picture, the broader text and constructs of higher ed, and looking at our first 2 chapters. We'll then jump into the governance, organization, and public policy, focusing 3rd week on student success, the teaching, the learning, and student life, and then really focus in on leadership and student affairs, and looking at that in week 4 and 5, as well as bringing in institutional research and data. In week 6, we're going to dig into that question, the cost of higher education. Is it worth it? And what's next? And then finally, where's the future of higher ed going? So as we go through, you'll see there are each week builds, and we'll be bringing in some current conversations, and you'll be bringing in some current conversations that will really help also drive and extend those big ideas. So with that, I'd like to jump in a little bit on some of the main structures and organization of the course.